Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, I do not know, but welcome back to a new video that I've tried to record for 4 times at this point. 2 of which I discarded and 2 of which discarded themselves because one, the mic was not plugged in, and the second one got lost because OBS decided to not record it correctly. I am already tired. But anyway, hello, welcome back to a new video. Today we're gonna ramble for 20 minutes about the fact that I changed my art style again. Why, you might ask? I will tell you. So, as always, I start with a sketch. I've always started with a sketch. I'm not a person that can start with shapes. I did it once, it came out good, but it gives me anxiety. So, I usually start out with a sketch, as you can see. During my life as an artist, I've changed my style quite a bit. I don't have examples, but if you look at my previous videos, you can see that I've changed again. And there is a reason. This time there is a reason. And the reason is I went back to furry art. I do not identify as a furry myself, but I am an artist and I find the furry art and furry community very much artistically interesting and pleasant. Therefore, I work with the furry community, for the furry community, quite gladly. I'm also NSFW artist and NSFW YCH maker. I know those words can be confusing. It's basically things, schmexy things, okay? Explicit, schmexy things that I cannot post on YouTube, but I do those things. So when I came back to my furry friends, I started making illustrations the same way that I did with my humans subjects, and that was without a line art, a more painterly style, if you will. That gave me freedom, but took me a long time. The first piece of art that I made for my comeback on For Affinity especially was one that I called Kitsune. That took me 7 hours. 7 hours for a health bust. No, for a waist up. That is too much time. I don't have the attention span for that. My ADHD is not good with that. My little Dory brain is not good with that. Keeping attention for 7 hours? I know, I love it. But I am not that much of a masochist. I cannot even talk 20 minutes straight about the same coherent thing. But yeah, so I was like, this is not going great. This is not good. I need to find a way to make my art marketable because I want to make money out of it. Which, full disclaimer, I do not only make art because I get paid for it. I clearly like to illustrate and make art for myself as well. But as once merrily said, you would not marry a girl because she's pretty, but my goodness, doesn't it help? Yes, so I love illustrating, I love making art, and if someone wants to pay me for it, they can find me on Vision. Link down below, or they can find me on For Affinity, but I'm okay with it. Now, even though it's true that I mainly do YCHs, so your character here illustration at this point, I do also take commissions. And the line art, I find it's much more useful when you take commission. Now, I will explain to you my personal process in the back and forth that I have with my clients during commissions. In theory, is written in my TOS. I don't know at this point, I have to check. But yeah, so let's say that someone commissioned me this portrait, right? And they're like, yeah, I want a portrait of my OC, she's an elf with red hair, a big ass gem in her forehead, she's very, she's sharp, whatever. Okay, sure, no problem. I would ask for references, as much references as necessary, especially of the details that they want me to put in the illustration, like the gem. If it's some type of gem, I want pictures of a gem. And then I will do a rough sketch, send them the rough sketch, wait. When I get the good to go, I polish the sketch, I send them the polished sketch, I wait. When I get the good to go, I do the line art, and then I send them the line art, and then I wait again. Why do I wait so much? Because up until this point, my reviews are almost infinite. After the line art is completed and approved, I categorically refuse to do any major changing to the composition, to the position, to the details, whatever. Once the line art is okay, and you tell me that is okay in writing, then I will not change anything major. I will proceed with the coloring. If the coloring is not the correct tone or color, I will obviously change the color. But once the line art is done, I will not change it. So let's take this illustration, for example, right? If I send it in, I completed everything, and I got the good to go to the line art. Once I start coloring, which by the way, I tell you that I start coloring. Let's say that this guy came back to me and he was like, yeah, no, I want her face to be facing the other way. No, not free of charge, to be clear. Why? Because I spent time making the thing, sending it back to you, getting it approved from you, and I told you that this was the threshold, after which major changes would not be possible. And it's in my TOS. So once you commission me and you say yes to my TOS, that is it. So the line art, in this case, comes in handy, especially for anthropomorphic creatures, who are usually more difficult to illustrate, more particular to illustrate, more detailed, especially if you are someone like me that illustrates those characters in very interesting and articulated positions, that usually involve 2 or more characters, right? I would like to be able to show you one of these illustrations, but of course I cannot. An example of this, a big commission that I did, was a YCH that I sold of single page, like a one-shot comic plus an illustration that I did for a very lovely person, and it's NSFW, so I cannot show you to YouTube, and I wouldn't show you, but I've been in constant communication with this person because it was first of all a very big piece for me. It implied different positioning of the character and quite a bit of work. So I was able to finish this in almost 3 days, maybe 3 to 5 days, which is very quick. First of all, because I was home at that point, so I had the time, and because the person was also answering me very quickly. And I made it clear that after this threshold, they would not be able to change anything. Luckily, they didn't want to change anything at all. But if they wanted to, even change slightly a position of a character, for example, I could have done before the line art. And actually, they asked me to put one specific scene a little bit more prominent, and I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. There is no problem, I can do that. So I cut out that particular portion and I made it bigger. I sacrificed something else, and communication. But the line art came in handy because of that. And you will be like, yeah, but up until now you were taking commissions anyway and you didn't need a liner, so why did you go back to the liner? Because I did some research, okay? Also, I did some research. First of all, the painterly style that I was using took me too much time. That would mean me having to up the pricing to make it worth it for me, monetary wise. So I was like, yeah, no, let's change styles. And second of all, I went around on For Affinity and I browsed a little bit. You know, I looked at other artists, and other artists, let's divide them into categories. Those who have a more painterly styles, and those who have a less painterly style, more of a comic style, and use a line art. First of all, beautiful, both of them. There are so many talented artists that I feel very much sad when I do this, because I feel like I'm not worth it. But the amount of money that they were asking, and consequently the amount of commissions or YCHs they were selling, was drastically different, which is understandable because the amount of time that they spent on the piece is probably very different. Probably because not everyone knows, not everyone is as fast as the other person, right? So I looked around and I was like, oh, this style with the line art is more popular. Probably because it's faster, probably because it's more easy to communicate with the person that is commissioning you, but it also might be because of the positions that they are usually illustrating. Quite complex positions or quite detailed pieces. Like this one, it's not complicated at all, but it has a lot of line and it looks like he has a lot of details, right? But the readability of those details is given by the line art. If I took away the line art, you would not be able to distinguish anything. So, and I would have to put in more time to perfect the coloring in order for you to be able to distinguish the details and whatnot. So I was like, you know what? Economically, time-wise, business-wise, it makes more sense for me at this point of time to go back to a line art. And so I did. But you will notice that differently from my model, which has a very precise in a way that the pen itself is very round. The pen that I use, it's very round. It's actually the same pen that you will see me color this piece with. Makes for very round edges. And I was like, I don't want to go there. I don't want to be there. I want my piece to be more pointy, but at the same time, slightly imprecise in a good way. You know, I want it to have character. You know, I wanted to tell something to the person. So I was like, I really like my sketches. They lose something in the coloring process. I'm going back to line art anyway. And so I scavenged ClipStudio Paint for a tool that I could use and that I liked enough. A texture tool that I could make my line art with. And that is Vtuber, if I remember correctly, that's what it's called. If you go back to the video here to my right, you will see it. You can find it on ClipStudio Paint, and it's this lovely brush with a texture that I'm using for my line art. And I feel like this has changed again my style without me actually being there changing the way I illustrate things. But it has made such a drastic change in my art style just by using a different brush for my line art. Except, well, adding the line art, of course. But let's talk about the part where I still use the line art, like 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. There, it takes so little to actually change someone's artistic vibe. Sometimes it's very interesting. Many artists do change their art style during their art life, and it's amazing to see how much a person can change. A couple of months ago, I was talking to a friend of mine, which is also an artist, and she was talking to me about, she wanted to make changes to her art style, but she was kind of worried at this point. And I was like, why are you worried? And she was like, with all this AI drama that sometimes pop up, I'm afraid that if I completely change my art style from a day to another, someone's gonna call me out for AI art. I was like, you are keeping yourself from progressing. You will hear my chair. You are keeping yourself from progressing in art because you're afraid of being called an AI artist. I was speechless. No, I was not. I'm almost never speechless. But I was baffled. And I was like, what kind of fear is that? I mean, if you're... true that people can completely change art style from one day to another, but it's almost impossible, mostly unlikely that something like that's gonna happen. So even if you change something in your art style, most likely you will still be able to recognize that's your art. There will be some consistency. You will see something that okay, I change a lot of things, but you will see in a little bit in this video that I have this habit of putting a highlight in the on the bridge of the noise of the character that I'm illustrating, even though it's maybe not supposed to be there. In this case, for example, the highlight, it's completely wrong. I know that, but it's a stylistic choice. I like it and I use it. Or the blush around the eyes. The blush that I use around the eyes and the top part of the cheekbones. It's consistent in almost all my work. Even though I started changing again and I put in a line art, you still have that to see that it's my art. So I was shocked and I was like, bitch, if you wanna change, just change. Why are you so worried of being accused of AI art? Unless you are actually scamming people with AI, I don't see the problem. First of all, those who follow you will notice that it's your art and your style, right? And second of all, most likely you have, if you didn't do anything wrong, you have the way to prove it. Might it be with time lapses or which now they can fake that too, or with layers, or I don't know, just doodle something in a stream for some people. Like, if you wanna change, just change. The hell, your art style, I promise you, most likely will still be similar or have something of your previous way of doing things, because it's a gradual change. It's an organic change. It might look like a big difference, but probably it's not. The shape of your bodies will be consistent for a while and gradually change. That's how artists do. That's what we do. That's how we grow. Look at, for example, yes, I came back to the line art thing, but I also changed my coloring style. Yes, you might say, but that girl looks desaturated. Probably for someone who uses a lot of colors, yes, but look at her, this illustration compared to my model. She's not desaturated. She's very colorful for my grade of color use, whatever. She's very colorful, but you can still see that it's me coloring her, even though she's a green shirt instead of a purple one. I was baffled. Do not be afraid of changing your art style. That's how you grow. You might go around and see, I don't know, let's say that you like the way I do the blush around the eyes and you decide to implement that into your art, first of all, you're gonna probably not do it the same way that I do it. And second of all, if you like it, you keep it. If you don't, you don't. Maybe you like it on my art, you try it on your art, and you're like, "Eh, that's disgusting. What is that?" And stop doing it. Or maybe you just change it. You like it more round, square, or whatever. But that's how we grow. As artists, that's how we change. So do not be afraid of changing. And you will see me change art style for sure in the future. I already know my art style will not stay the same. That's boring. That's fucking useless as well. And going back to the marketing thing, if you plan on making commissions, of having people commission you, you might somewhat have to adapt your style to the demand. Now you can choose to do that or not, but sometimes it's better to slightly compromise or find your way of doing things. Even if you want to reach a broader audience, if you want your pictures or whatever to be liked, you will have to implement things, different things. As time goes on, you will have to change, improve, and grow. And that's the beauty of it. Anyway, yes, I will stop rambling in a few seconds. You will see me now put the grayscale and the color next to each other. I'm planning on posting them side by side. I will struggle a little bit cutting that, but it's fine. Also, I thank you so much for staying with me during this very long ass video in which I rambled a lot and I tried to record this multiple times. I hope this is the last one. But yeah, I will also post a speed paint, a more speeded version of this speed paint by itself with some music, so you can, if you want to look at it, you can look at it without me mumbling and rambling around in the background or in the foreground. But yeah, it was, I hope your Easter was good. I hope that you are fine. I hope to see you all soon again. And yeah, thank you for keeping me company. And as always, bye 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 bye. See you all next time. This is the second video in a row that I have to trash. Why? Because the first one, the mic was not plugged in. This one, my fucking OBS crashed. And I was rambling for 40 minutes. Usa. Non ci credo che ho dovuto registrare sta cosa per 4 volte di vita perché so cretina. Cretina sono. Maremma.